Now in our second match, we have NeoBuster taking on Yata because it is round out format. So Zane is still in, but he's not fighting next. NeoBuster is using his Narukami as always. And for Yata, we'll be using Neo Nectar for this battle. Yata is actually one of the people who I rarely see fight. I know Yata as the a moderator for the area forums, which I also don't use very often because I don't have a lot of reason, but that's just me. NeoBuster starting off by riding Arc and calling an Arc, trying to get early damage. And he gets what he wants in the case of 2 damage early on. And on Yata's grade 2 ride, we see Maiden of Cherry Bloom. As well as lemons. Lots of lemons. The first lemon goes for the rear guard, which NeoBuster allows to die. And if that unit hits, then it's going to call a cherry stone. Then it's going to call cherry stones to the field. But it's not going to hit because NeoBuster 1 passes and it works. Perfect guard did come out of that though. And only in the first turn, Yata has quite the field advantage. And now NeoBuster answers back, calling grade 2s to the rears. Without the arc from last turn, though, he doesn't have a booster on either of them. So now Yata has to decide if I honestly never confirmed whether Yata was a boy or a girl, so I'm not gonna guess. Yata has to confirm if Yata wants to allow draws from NeoBuster. No guard the Vanguard though. So if NeoBuster doesn't have a grade 3, he could counterblast and check his top 5 for one right now. The fact that he didn't do that tells me that he must have one, especially because this other unit here wouldn't have been able to hit anyway. So he quite literally had nothing to gain from not doing it. Speaking of doing things without gain, Yata's misriding, which is actually really bad for Neo Nectars because they can't really do much, get many of their engines going until Generation Break. And without Stride, because Neo Nectars have become very Stride based now. Like the newer engine of what the Neo Nectars do kind of became more of their main engine, due to the fact that beforehand they didn't have much else anyway. And those were 2 drive checks for some reason. Yata did a twin drive check and NeoBuster caught on it. And Yata admits not paying enough attention to actually Yata changes the target of the trigger because Yata really did think that he was going to get 2 checks there. Kills the other chat draw for it. And we see 3 damage on both sides. 3 damage on both sides, 3 cards in the hand for both sides. The only difference is NeoBuster has a lot less field than Yata does, and thereby has a lot less attacks per turn. But to make up for it, NeoBuster does have grade 3. So Death Sight, Counterblast 2, I'd kill 11. Goes for Flower Screen. To be honest, that's actually not a bad choice, considering that it gets rid of an Intercept, and Flower Screen would be very, very deadly later on. So it does work. I would say that lemons are going to be a bit more of a problem in terms of the engine, but Flower Screens can be a pseudo lemon or a pseudo anything, so better to get that out of the way early. First attack is going for the rear guard. Yata guards because Neo Nectars do really need their rear guards. Uh, 16k is also going at the rear guard, not at the vanguard. Very interesting choice. Twin drive check. Grade 3 and critical trigger. You can give all of that to Chadra. And the rear guard is going to die. Final attack is at the vanguard. Yata does have a perfect guard though. Is that attack worth the perfect guard? That's the question. I think Yata also has a nope. Use the stand trigger to guard before, so it doesn't have that. So it's either perfect guard or go to 5 damage right now. If Yata does use the perfect guard now, then he's gonna have no hand and no front row for the next turn. Decides instead to take the damage, which means NeoBuster gets the ability to counterblast, draw, and bind something in the drop zone. So I'm guessing Flower Screens is gone for good now. He's asking who to bind. The best choice is Flower Screen. Based on what Neo Nectars do, there honestly isn't much else of a choice. And he chooses a stand trigger. The reason I say that the best choice is Flower Screen is because Neo Nectars do have an engine that allows them to return units from the drop zone back into the deck, but only normal units, not triggers. Yata finally gets a grade 3 ride. If Yata also has the ability to stride now, then it could be really bad for NeoBuster. But if the matter is that Yata doesn't have that, then NeoBuster can go to Break Ride and actually potentially end it in the next turn. And no, he doesn't have it. So that's 8k to 8k. I would intercept that if I was NeoBuster. And he chooses not to. He could have used Death Sight to intercept and save that thing. And he decided to keep his Dragonic Death Scythe. I would have saved Chautra mostly because it can hit 11k. This only hits 9k. Its purpose on the field is kind of done. And there were no triggers on that drive check for Yata either. Does still have a perfect guard. So now it's a decision of what NeoBuster wants to do. He could stride to refill it to gain some more hand. And that's what he's doing. He's deciding to do stride over Legion. Not a bad choice considering that unless he has certain rear guards, Legion wouldn't help him nearly as much. Strides into Atmos. That honestly is a bad decision. If he does the counter blast, then I'm gonna say that was a bad choice. He uses Jin on Death Scythe, so that it's at 12k. So now he has 3 battles, all of which capable of hitting. Unfortunately, though, without a trigger, Yata does have guard for all of these, just based on what we already know is in hand, and that was a mistake. Yata's been holding on to a perfect guard for this entire match ever since the drive check when he received it. So yeah, he does have that. He has 3 drive checks to get a trigger, and I think unless a 10k shield is in Yata's hand now. Well, let's see the discard. It's a lemon. So there's a 5k shield in that hand, and another card that is undesignated. First check is grade 3, second is grade 1, third check is draw trigger. So at this point, the match just comes down to, is there a 10k shield in that hand or not? If not, this match is over. And there was a 10k shield in the hand. Yata is going to live through this turn, but with nothing in hand. And with no real good attackers. NeoBuster's triple check wasn't great, but he did get a draw trigger, so there's a card in that hand that is unknown from the drive checks. Meanwhile, Yata's top decking. And gets a grade 2. Enough to get a 16k attack, but not enough to actually do anything, but not enough to stride. Which could have potentially been the only thing that could have overwhelmed NeoBuster's hand. Yata is attacking with the rear guard first because Yata does have stand triggers in the deck. So far I've seen stands, heals, and draws. So this could be a rainbow build or something close to it. Neo perfect guards and a drive trigger brings a heal trigger and a perfect guard. Depending on NeoBuster's hand, that could have just clinched the game for him. He can perfect guard because Yata has the ability to perfect guard the Vanguard, but Yata goes for the rear. Doesn't want to give him the extra counter blast, which makes sense because giving him an extra counter blast would give him the ability to use Fighting Draco Kid. And now we see Legion. He put back heal trigger, draw trigger, perfect guard, and arc. Call something behind the shotgun blow. Dropping his entire hand to end this. So that's an 8k now. And the final card. So with the Power of the Limit break, NeoBuster has pretty much sealed the fact that he can do 2 damage this turn. Because all Yata has in hand is a grade 0, the heal trigger, and the perfect guard, which unless Yata wants to no guard, he's gonna have to take right now. Of course, damage triggers could hurt a lot of things. Yata no guards everything. Twin drive check gets a critical trigger. And the second is a grade 2. So even with the heal trigger, and there it is. Second one is not a damage trigger though, which means that NeoBuster's other columns can hit. Yata can guard 1 attack but not 2, and they both can hit. Last card in hand is a perfect guard. Can't help by itself. The only way Yata can come back is with another heal trigger. And that's just too much to ask for. NeoBuster takes this one. Good games. Too bad for Yata misriding for so long. That's pretty much what killed Yata's game in the end, because Neonectars really can't afford to do that. NeoBuster's final turn was a bit reckless, but it did pay off because that's exactly what he needed in order to get the win, so well done.